On day 18 of our trip, we will leave our hotel and go to the Husky Homestead. Then we'll drive to Denali Park and take the shuttle bus through the park and then back to our hotel for the night. We'll gather in the main lobby of the Denali village where we'll eat breakfast, and then we'll catch a shuttle to Jeff King's Husky Homestead to see a presentation about huskies.
Throughout the day, we rotate dogs in and out.
There are currently 33 adult dogs and 8 puppies here, and of course Deborah has This is actually part of their training to help them to be acclimatized to all sorts of people.
Deborah's favorite part.
Regardless, what I'm trying to get at is Sammy is a single puppy that we kept from a litter, which is 1,100 miles across the state of Alaska. He has been in that event a whopping 28 times. Just signed up for number 29, and on top of that, he is a 4-time champion. Yes, I'm unbelievably proud of him. And you know, just 2 years ago, he was nominated and got into the Alaska Sports Hall of Fame. And I'm so excited to really be able to introduce you to the real champions. Look at these dogs out here behind me. I want to make sure you understand, first and foremost, you are visiting some of the finest athletes in the world.
At 4 months old, they are taken from their mother and put into Puppy Homestead, where they learn to socialize with the rest of the puppies. Then at about 8 to 9 months, they're put into harness for the first time, and it's kind of a show, but within a few minutes, they learn how to pull just like a champion. 1 year later, they start camping and having some fun pulls, And then at 2 years old, they start some short races to see how they do. Then they determine whether they're going to keep them or sell them off to another musher. And then by 7 to 9 years old, it's time for retirement.
Drive and desire to run, recovery rate, intelligence, yoga skills.
My friends, this is an event where men and women compete on an even playing field. All right? In fact, that's because we're not the athletes, right? If we were the athletes, there probably would be an athletic or a men's and a women's division like there is in every other athletic event. But we're not the athletes, the dogs. They are the ones running to know, not us. We are animal trainers. First and foremost, we are animal psychologists. You have to have woodsmanship skills, weather prediction skills. You got to be able to stay awake for 10 days in a row and play chess the whole time. This race is physical, it is demanding, it is exhausting, it's certainly not easy, but it's not particularly athletic. I'm really proud to say that my eldest sister, Callie, she completed this race when she was 18 years old. But the Iditarod, okay, it begins the first Saturday in March in downtown Anchorage. Anchorage is that away. 1,100 miles up that way is Nome, Alaska. The first one there is the winner. This is technically a non-stop race. I say technically, because trust me, if you ever find yourself traveling 1,100 miles across the state of Alaska by dog team, you're going to want to stop along the way. But the deal is you get to decide when and how and for how long you want to stop. And I'll do the same for myself. But every single second, from the time you leave Anchorage to the time you arrive at Nome, every second will count the same, and the clock will not stop. There'll be more on that later. Before the race begins, we actually pack up all the food and gear that we could possibly need, put it into a bag like this one, and we ship it out along the route that we'll be traveling. Now let's get this part straight. The route that we'll be traveling, it is titled the Iditarod Trail. Okay, it's been there for over 100 years. We've been having this silly dog sled race for 45 years. My friends, we're having a race because there's a trail already in place, not vice versa. In the sled dog race, well, it inherited the name of the trail we decided to race on, the Iditarod Sled Dog Race. There are 22 checkpoints along the way. Well, I call them checkpoints, but the people who live out there, guess what they call it? Home. Exactly. And they live out there because it's good hunting, good fishing, family heritage, and gold mining, not because of some silly dog mushing event. Typically, these checkpoints, they're villages inhabited by people who live there year-round because it is their home. I want to make sure it is clear to you, we are not carrying everything we need in the sled bag with us to go the whole way. That would be unrealistic. Historically, if you were going 1,100 miles, you were carrying a rifle and a box of cartridges because you were expecting to hunt for your team and yourself along the way. Now we have the luxury of packing up everything we could possibly need, put it into a bag, ship it out, and then cache it along the trail. 2,000 pounds. That is the average amount of food and gear that is shipped out per team. 2,000 pounds. 75 teams in last year's event, that is 150,000 pounds of food and gear that is shipped out and stored along the interior of Alaska. How does it get out there? Well, volunteer pilots. They fly it out there. They take off out of Anchorage, and they touch down at each one of these 22 checkpoints along the way, dropping off all that food and gear. Where there's another group of volunteers there waiting to help unload the bags and sort the bags, count the bags, keep the foxes and the ravens away from our stuff until we can get there a few weeks later. Another group of volunteers set out just a few days in advance of our departure with 10,000 wooden stakes that look something like this one, dragging along behind their snowmobile. And it is these snowmobilers' responsibility to mark the trail. They will be putting in 10 stakes per mile for 1,100 miles. And you thought that we were crazy. These guys are nuts. But they're very passionate about what they do, and we are extremely grateful for what they do. I'm trying to make sure it's clear to you that we're not navigating our way across this enormous state of Alaska, all right? We are following a trail, and the trail is marked. The trail, it's used almost every day by the people who live out there as a means of transportation, a way to get around. This trail is connecting the communities out there. Plus, there are markers like this. And yes, there are days that it snows, and it blows, and blizzards. There are days that these suckers are harder to find than others, absolutely. But typically, navigation is not our biggest challenge. are 35 race veterinarians that volunteer their time and their expertise to help us care for our dogs. Before the racing begins, the dogs must complete a battery of exams. When they pass this battery of exams, they get a microchip. It's the size of a grain of rice, and it's implanted underneath the skin in the back of that dog's neck. That is a positive ID for that dog alone. It will be with them for life. Your dog at home may have one of those microchips. They're very common now. Okay, so this battery of exams. All the dogs must have a complete physical exam. Okay? A complete orthopedic exam, a complete blood chemistry exam, and an EKG. Have any of you ever given your dog an EKG? Okay, well take it from me. It's not easy. It literally takes all day to get our team of dogs through an EKG program. Almost 1,600 dogs had EKGs before last year's event began. My dad, I mentioned, he's been in this race a whopping 28 times, and never once has anyone asked him for his temperature. Just another example about how the dogs are the athletes, and they will be receiving some of the finest veterinary care in the world over the course of this 10 days. These dogs are checked out before the race, at every checkpoint, and at the end of the race. It is taken very seriously, and it is a very big deal. This here is an example of the sled that you may see out there on the trail. I'm not going to take too long to bore you with the differences between the sleds. Empty, they all weigh about 50 pounds. Granted, I want to take 1 second to brag about how my father was a gentleman who redesigned this sled in 2006. Historically, the musher, they stood on the back of the sled, with the cargo out in front. He came up with the concept of creating cargo space in front as well as behind. This put the heaviest item on the sled, the musher, all of a sudden in the center of the ski. And oh boy, did this dramatically improve weight distribution, sled handling, and steering, but it also provided a place to sit down. Really good idea. It only took him 200,000 miles of standing up on the back of a dog sled to figure out how to sit down. I think that's hilarious. He showed up to the start of the Iditarod in 2006 with a sled that looked something like this, and everybody laughed at him. They said, "Oh, Jeff, he's getting so old, he needs a place to sit down." Well, I don't know if you heard, but in 2006, my dad won the race sitting down. The next year, about 50% of the participants showed up with a sled that looked something similar to this, and today it's basically the standard in long-distance racing. It really is, because it just makes so much sense. Empty. This sled's all weigh about 50 pounds. 100 pounds of gear you want on board. Okay, this is stuff I'm talking you do not want to be shipping out ahead. You really don't want to be caught without it. These will be items like snowshoes, your axe, fire starter, dry clothes, repair kit, first aid kit, sleeping bag. I'm always going to have this contraption here. This is the tool I will use to prepare my dog's meals. It's called a cooker. Using methanol as fuel in this pot, ice and snow in this pot, you can have boiling water in a matter of minutes. A gallon of water per dog per day. The heaviest item on my sled, besides myself, is going to be 30 or 40 pounds of dog food in this lunch pail. And this 30 or 40 pounds of dog food is going to mean as much to my dog team as that silly box lunch is going to mean to you when you go out on the wildlife tour. If you haven't gone yet, don't get too excited. You're not going for the food. This is just a snack. 30 or 40 pounds of just a snack to tide my dog team over until I can get them to where they're really going to eat. Where they're really going to eat are at these checkpoints where we have sent out hundreds of pounds of beef, liver, tripe, commercial-fried dog food, chicken skins, chicken fat, fish oil, lamb, beaver. This is where they're really going to eat. These dogs are eating machines. I know Trenton said it, but I'm going to say it again. These dogs average 50 pounds. They consume in excess of 10 to 12,000 calories every 24 hours. Do the math. This is where their caloric intake just goes off the charts. All right, let's review. Empty. The sled weighs 50 pounds. 100 pounds of gear on board, plus the additional weight of the musher. Musher sledding gear, we're looking at a grand total of somewhere around 300 to 400 pounds. Boy, does that sound like a lot of weight. The dogs had to pick it up and carry it. But they're not carrying anything. They are gliding the load, sliding it on snow and ice, with some of the highest tech-runner plastic in the world. In fact, the coefficient of friction is extremely low. Fully loaded, any one of the dogs you saw out there today, any one of our competitors' dogs, they're capable of pulling this sled by themselves for hours and hours on end. They wouldn't be going very fast. They can do it. Probably be similar to asking any one of you to carry your own luggage around with you everywhere on your vacation. You could do it, but you'd have to plan your day around it. Take a few extra stops. And be nice if you had some help. So similarly here, I don't ask a single dog to pull the sled. I'm trying to put the load in perspective for you. A single dog could and a single dog would. But 2 dogs are going to be able to pull the sled faster than 1 will. And 3 will do it faster than 2, and 4 faster than 3, 5 faster than 4, 6 faster than 5. Are you with me? Of course you are. But I am working up to something here. When you reach the point of 9 or 10 dogs, you have reached the point where more dogs will no longer go faster. It's called the point of diminishing returns, and I have statistics and put deep to back me up on this, so please trust me as I proceed. You keep adding dogs to the front of this sled without changing the size of the load. On the type of trail we expect to be traveling on, the incremental increase in the amount the dogs are pulling with the addition of each dog will continue to become smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller until they neutralize the load. That will happen at 9 or 10 dogs. Hypothetically, you could hook 100 dogs up to the front of this sled. You'll not go faster than you would with 9 or 10. But with 100 dogs, you did make it impossible to stop. Your power changes, yes, but your speed does not necessarily increase. And if you want to hear with us, that information is important stuff to try to let soak in. Because I understand it can be confusing. How many dogs do we use? When? Why? For how long? I'm going to touch on a few things that I hope to help explain that to you, and that was the first one. In fact, if you were to come to the start of the Iditarod, which I highly recommend for your next Alaska vacation. Enough of this sissy summer stuff, you guys. No, I'm just kidding. Coming to Alaska for the start of the Iditarod, it is so much fun. I mean, I'm talking people come from out of the woodwork all across the state of Alaska to sell the trinkets that they've been working so hard on all year round, not to mention to celebrate this historic event. And then thousands of people, they come from all over the world to see this race. And if you were to come, you would likely see 16 dogs hooked to the front. 16 dogs hooked to the front of almost every sled there. 16. That is a completely arbitrary number, chosen out of the air by the race rules as the maximum amount of dogs you may enter. They have also picked another arbitrary number of 5 as the minimum amount of dogs that you must finish with. But listen closely, because the most important rule is that no dog that does not begin the very first day, the very first mile, can participate at all. Are you with me here? There will be no substitutions. This is not like a soccer game or a basketball game where half your team waits on the sideline waiting for their turn to come in. We do not have a bench to draw from. Well, I guess we kind of do. Because the only reason that you bring more than 9 or 10 dogs with you is to bring the bench with you. It's really the only reason you would do such a thing, because every dog you add after 9 or 10 dogs doesn't make you go faster, right? It just makes this sled harder and harder to hang onto. You saw a team of 7 dogs take off today. Double that. And on the back of a sled. Hanging on to the back of this sled with 16 dogs hooked to the front of it, my friends, it is like hanging on to the back of a thunderbolt. And I highly recommend you do hang on. Because it becomes really clear, really quick, that the dogs do not actually give a rip whether we are back here or not. And it is good for a chuckle, but I'm not joking. You do not want to fall off. They will not stop and wait for you. This is not Lassie saving Timmy from the burning building. These dogs expect me to hang on if I want to go with them. Now, don't get me wrong, I think that they love me, but I think they love me as much as they do because I am pretty good at hanging on, and I'm typically still with them when they get to wherever they're going. Honest to goodness, you watch some video footage of my father pull into a checkpoint. The first thing his dog team does when it stops is turn around and go, "Oh good, Jeff made it." Honest. Watch the video footage, you will see them turn around and check on us. They are checking on us because they know we are the ones that take care of them. Right? We are caregivers to the dogs. That is our job. That is all of the mushers' jobs. My friends, you don't win a race because you're good at riding the sled. No, this is the easy part. You better be able to stay awake enough to hang on. Duck from a low-hanging branch. Keep the sled from hitting a tree as it winds its way down the trail behind the dogs. But if you have any vision of me running alongside the sled to help my team, get over that. To have me run alongside the sled to help the team makes almost as much sense as asking one of you to run behind the bus to help it back to the hotel. There's a visual for you, huh? The bus will drive the same whether you're on board or not. Same concept here. Now you might see me running alongside my sled. I was being a little bit dramatic here. You might. But it likely has nothing to do with the dogs needing my help. Way more likely it has to do with the fact that I am just freezing my tush off. And I'm trying to warm up. My friends, it gets cold out there. I'm talking sometimes it gets really darn cold. We have some of the finest cold-weather gear in the world and we still get cold. Here's an example of the gear you may see us wearing when we're out there. I understand this is comical, but it's absolutely not a joke. This is the outermost layer of gear you may see us wearing when we're out there. And if you do not see us in this getup, you can be guaranteed something like it is inside the sled bag, waiting to be put on for when the temperatures plummet. And really, I don't care what you're wearing. When it's 30 below, 30-mile-an-hour winds, trust me, the cold will find a way to creep in. And when you get chilly, you better be in shape enough to run alongside your sled to get warmed up. Once you warm up, you get back on the sled and you ride some more. Honest to goodness, with this new sled design, you're way more likely to see a dog musher nowadays sitting down than you are to see us running. We don't often get our picture in the paper like that, though. Doesn't necessarily paint the right image. I gotta be entirely honest with you. I am not 100% sure who this is. But I'm pretty sure we work together, and I'm positive they are hot, so let's give them a round of applause. The most important part of my job, it occurs when I'm in front of the sled. When I'm in front of the sled is stopped. I told you this is technically a non-stop race without we stop. I'm about to tell you just how much we stop, and as I do, please keep in mind, this race has been won by the difference of 1 second. Separating first and second place. 1 second after 1,100 miles. Second closest finish was 2 minutes. Nobody's wasting any time out there. And yet, for every hour of running that these dogs do, we are going to demand of them that they rest an hour. It is a 1-to-1 ratio of run to rest that we're looking for. That means 12 hours a day, these dogs are resting. It also means 12 hours a day, these dogs are running. 12 hours a day, 10 miles an hour. That's 120 miles a day with 12 hours to rest up and do it again tomorrow. You can do it any way you want, but doing it all at once like that is not going to work. Typically, the musher splits a day up into approximately 4 6-hour segments, where I ride for 6 hours, allowing the dogs to run for 6 hours. Then I'm going to demand of them they rest however long they just ran, 6 hours. During this 6-hour rest, I'm going to be working, caring for myself, the dogs, and the equipment for about 4.5 hours. This is not like NASCAR. You know where the matching hats come out and help you change your tires? No. Nobody is allowed to touch these dogs besides myself and the race veterinarians. There is no outside help allowed. It is against the race rules, and that is a very big deal. You will be disqualified. I am the one that's going to be preparing their breakfast, packing their lunch, giving them dinner, giving them a place to sleep, giving them a rub down, cleaning up after them, doing the same thing again tomorrow. 4.5 hours of work. That leaves me 90 minutes to take a nap if I'd like to. I probably would like to. Typically, you're welcome to go inside. Race rules do not prohibit you from going indoors. You're welcome to go inside. There's typically a church, a community center, a school, somewhere in the local village. You can go inside and warm up if you'd like. But often it takes 5 minutes to walk over there, 10 minutes to get all that gear off, 10 minutes to put the gear back on, 5 minutes to walk back over to your sled. That's 30 minutes of your 90 minutes that you can easily blow because you want to be warm. Warm is overrated. We take a nap, we hit the trail. I ride for 6 hours, they run for 6 hours. Then they're going to rest for 6 hours. I work for 4.5, sleep for 90 minutes, off we go again. I ride for 6 hours, they're going to run for 6 hours. Then they rest for 6 hours, I'm going to work 4.5, sleep for 90 minutes, they're ready to go, so we hit the trail. I ride for 6 hours, they run for 6 hours. Then they're going to rest for 6 hours, I'm going to work 4.5, sleep for 90 minutes, off we go again. I'm not really exaggerating. All day long, day and night, light or dark, around the clock. If you can keep that schedule for 10 days in a row, you are in the hunt. The reason this race is known to be so exhausting is because the front runners, they're getting very little sleep. Now, I'm not looking for sympathy. I'm here on my own free will. Been doing this for a very long time, and I continue to show up year and year again. But if you have any sympathy, I'll take it. No, just kidding. Okay, I told you we begin this race with 16 dogs. What I haven't told you yet is we have no intention of taking all 16 dogs all the way to Nome. At each one of the 22 checkpoints, they are set up and designed for us to be able to withdraw a dog. The process is called dropping a dog. Here's the process. You get to a checkpoint and you identify the dog you want to have sent home. You fill out a little bit of paperwork. You sign it. The vet signs it. That dog gets flown home to Anchorage, where I kid you not, they go to the Anchorage Correctional Facility. And the inmates care for the dogs. It's a super cool program. Been a part of this race for many years now. From there, somebody like myself picks up the drop dog, delivers it back here to the homestead. They typically beat the rest of the team and the musher back here to the homestead. Reasons you may drop a dog. Well, almost always the first dog that is sent home is a young male on day 3. Young male, day 3. This year was Cheddar. Cheddar's from the cheese litter. His brother Wiz is pretty good too, actually. But Cheddar, he's been our version of the Heisman Trophy winner, right? Okay, long on talent, but short on experience. He's never done these long distance races before. He's done those 200, 300, 400 mile races. Never 1,100 miles. And when he took off out of Anchorage, he knew something big was going to go down. He had testosterone blowing out of every pore of his body. Okay, he took off out of Anchorage, pulling the whole damn sled by himself for 3 days. After one of those 6-hour rests on day 3, 15 dogs ready to get up and go, and one is still laying down. It's Cheddar. If he had a watch, he'd be going, oh, shit. Coach, that was the quickest 6 hours of my life. I need 4 more hours. 4 more hours and I'll get up and go with you. Well, we don't have 4 hours to wait. He's not in trouble. He's done great. He's going to come back next year a little wiser, be able to conserve his energy and go the whole way. But we are going to move on without him. Off we go with one less dog. It is not unlikely that 1 in 16 dogs is going to get dinged up. They're going to sprain an ankle, twist a knee, poke a nose. I don't know. Statistics say an injury in this race is not likely to be serious. But it does not take serious to not keep up with this dog team. You have a dog that stepped in a moose hole and got a sprained ankle. They get a free ride in the sled basket into the next checkpoint where you go on without them. Off you go with 14 dogs. It is not unlikely that about 3/4 of the way through the race, you might have a dog just as good as raise this little doggy paw as if to say, excuse me, coach, getting plenty of sleep and I'm getting plenty to eat, but I'm a 10-mile-an-hour dog. You go 10 miles an hour for me, and I'll go the whole way. Well, when you have 13 dogs voting for 10.5 miles an hour, you don't slow down the whole team for the 10-mile-an-hour dog. You send the 10-mile-an-hour dog home, and you go faster with 1 less dog. A couple years ago, my dad was 77 miles from the finish line when he had one of his little female lead dogs come into heat. Man, is that a quick ticket home. I'll spare you the details here, but that is a distraction you just don't need. You want to get Miss Sweet Britches on the next plane out of Dodge and move on without her. It's not by accident that this race is finished with a statistical average of 9 or 10 dogs. Do you remember those numbers? I'm trying to describe to you the fastest that we can go with the least amount of work, and we're almost targeting those numbers. Because until you have spent your time at 40 below zero, melting down ice and snow, for a dog that's not actually helping your forward progress, do you really understand what it is that I'm trying to tell you? I think I've covered it. That was a super quick overview of what it is like to be competitive in this event. But if you leave here today...
And of course, Deborah has to touch one more time.
I really appreciate Deborah the Explorer coming to help me with my training. I am so looking forward to pulling that sled. I will run like the wind and set a new speed record, I know it. Jeff King is really a wonderful guy and his family and workers take good care of us. I have heard it will snow here in a few months and I look forward to playing in it. Well, sorry you have to leave so soon, but have fun in Denali Park and see lots of animals.
And then we leave the Husky Homestead and head to Denali. Since this video is so long, day 18, we'll be splitting it into 2 videos, and so Denali will be on the next video.